Thank you all for coming today. I'm going to keep my talking to a minimum. We have three students here today that in my opinion, are the most impressive honors projects this semester. And so they made it to the elite round, which is to say the final round, the awesome round. And they're going to present to you a elite panel to go with the honors elite. And just so I talk less, I'll have everybody introduce yourself. We'll also, for the camera so we can get filmed. We'll go into big circle students first, then adults, and then they've already sussed that in order, which is great student ownership of their learning. They duked it out, and whoever thumb wrestled the worst ended up going first. But they have an order of presentation, and then what will happen is, and I explained to the students the other day for a refresher for you guys, I'm sure it's just a refresher. You guys are all going to fill out a form, and at the end of your comments, you'll rank the students. More points means better project. The most points gets first place, etc., etc. I will fill out the form too. My votes only count to break ties. So if you guys come with odd numbers, great. If there's even numbers, then my votes will break those ties. So they'll each have a presentation, and then there'll be times for questioning, and then, yeah, we should all take about an hour or so. Everyone introduce yourself, and I'll sit down.
I'm Sam Wood, and my honors project is in physics.
My name is Nam. My honor ability is Greek calculus and strongly focused on public symbol.
My name is Neil, and my project is on human anatomy and physiology.
I'm Sandy. I am the Director of International Support.
Milan Bogarth, I'm Assistant Head for Finance and Facilities.
Kara Lofton, Assistant Head of School for Academic Support.
And Jason Friedman, Director of the Honors Program, but you all know me.
Thank you guys for coming. Like I said, I'm doing my honors project on physics, and I'm going to be talking about wave pendulums. So the purpose of my project was to dive deeper into my understanding of physics and wave pendulums. And that picture is from the video I saw, which inspired me to do the project. So the formulas and ideas behind oscillation is that there's tension in the rope, and the tension in the rope is what gives it a pattern, you know? So there are two formulas. So the first one is F, which means frequency. So the frequency is 0.5 pi times the square root of g over L. G is the acceleration due to gravity, which is always going to be negative 9.8. And L is the length of the string. And then the other one is period. So the period is like how long it takes for it to reach from the top of here to the top of there. And that is 2 pi times the square root of L over G. So they're kind of just switched, you know, like a reciprocal almost. Yeah, so next slide. So this is my process in making the physical part. Yeah, and then of course I did more things, you know, like I evened them out, but that was just very time consuming. So these are my blueprints. So I did these at the beginning of my project so that I could have a better plan throughout when I was making it. Yeah, so they've got my measurements on them so that I can know what to cut everything out. So the 4 21st century skills are critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. For critical thinking, I used my critical thinking to decide that I needed to have a simultaneous release for when I push all the balls off of the slider. Also, I used critical thinking to decide that I needed to have a slider for the simultaneous release. And then also Pythagorean theorem. So to measure the distance for this part, I used Pythagorean theorem, which is just so that I can use that part of the triangle. Next slide. Then for collaboration, being able to work with my dad, Mr. Magalock, and Dr. Friedman. My dad helped me create this physical part of the project, like he helped me with like the screwdriver and stuff. And then Mr. Magalock helped me with the formulas and ideas behind oscillation, and also giving me tools so that I could practice, you know. Dr. Friedman helped me understand like the rubrics that I need to have, and like the timeline for the actual honors part of it. And then also inviting, well, I guess I didn't invite you guys, but you guys coming to watch it. You know. For communication, again, working with Dr. Friedman, my dad, and Mr. Magaluk. My dad was sometimes at work, so I'd have to plan around when he would be home to help me with the physical part, you know, because it's hard to do that on my own. Mr. Magaluk was ready to help me whenever I needed it, and Dr. Friedman is easily reassured, you know. For creativity, I used my creativity to decide that I was going to use marbles instead of the metal balls, because it's cheaper at first, and then second, it's less heavy. And so the way I made it was I had super glue and then a string. So it was better to do it like this because if it was going to be heavier, then there's more chance that it was going to break off because of the weight on the bottom. Also, deciding to make a slider. Of all the videos I watched, nobody else uses a slider. They just grab something, you know. So that was kind of like an original idea. Using toothpicks to block the string was also my idea because I needed to make it so they were all even, and this was just very time consuming. So it was easy for me to just take the toothpicks out and even out the strings. Also, sketching it with blueprints. I did that in the beginning. That was my first step. So the justification of my honors level credit is that it was very time consuming, like just the whole thing. Also perseverance. So multiple times balls did break off. So I had to, so if one breaks off, because the string is connected throughout the whole thing, so if one were to break, then I have to take off all the ones in front and then redo them all again. And then also creativity, like with the marble slider and everything. Next slide. So a problem, adaptation, and an example of initiative. So a problem, so this very bottom one, which is at like the base of the string. So before I didn't have this long part, it was just in there, you know. So that was the end of the string. So I had a problem when this one did break. So instead of basically starting from scratch again and redoing everything, I decided to just cut this part off and then loop through it again, but then tie more string to the end of it so that I wouldn't have to restart. An adaptation I made was when, so initially I had all the balls like lower to here, and I realized this was a problem because when I would let them go, like there's never going to be that perfect release, you know? So when I let them go, they would crash into each other more often. So then I raised them all up, and that helped eliminate the chances of them clashing into each other. So an example of my initiative was when I realized that I would need to have a slider. So how this project has helped improve my skills as a communicator, just communicating with Dr. Friedman, Mr. Magaluk, and my dad. And it's hard to communicate my idea for my honors project with my dad, who has his idea of my honors project, you know. Next slide. So an assignment, so the part of making this that was hardest for me was stringing the balls through, because it was just very time consuming, you know, and then I used so many different ways trying to get it at an even angle. So like once I tried, I just like propped it up with a cereal box, you know. Yeah, I used so many different ways of evening them, and then in the end, once I made the slider, I just did it by side, trying to make it so they were all at the same point on the slide. Next slide. So for my curiosity and imagination, I used curiosity and imagination like so many ways throughout the project. The main one, I think, for me was the marbles and the slider. So how I've applied this honors project to all my other classes is, in the future, maybe later this year for physics, we'll be learning about pendulums and like waves. But also in the future, I'll have the prerequisite knowledge if I take a physics class in college or anything like that. Also, it's given me organization skills because for this project, I had to know when all these deadlines were, you know. And then, like before, I didn't really like have a calendar, you know, in my phone. But this has really helped me with that. And then also, I've taken the problem-solving skills used for this project, and I've brought them out into my other classes. So what I can take from this learning experience is that I make mistakes all the time, you know, and then some would break. And then I realized I just have to go for it, you know. There's no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs, you know. So, and then also planning ahead is really key to these projects. So how I have benefited from Wasatch Academy is having the opportunity to make a project, and expand my knowledge, and then also giving me the resources, the learning to make this project, and then also the teachers and being there for me whenever I needed them, which was really helpful. Next slide. So thank you to Dr. Friedman, Mr. Magalak, and my dad who are here right now for helping me make this. That's just a video if it doesn't work. So yeah. So I'm gonna. You guys want to see it?
Yeah.
Do you want to move it over here, sir?
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah. Hi. Question? You get to start off.
Very impressive, Sam.
Thank you.
What was the motive behind that?
I knew I wanted to do an honor, behind doing the honors project in physics.
Behind this
specifically,
particular-
So, in the very beginning, when I was like, oh, do I want to do an honors project? I was going to do it in photography, and I was going to apply physics to that. And then I realized I should just do physics, because it's like an academic class, and I thought it would be more interesting almost, And then, so I was just looking through different ideas, and I was going to do something with wave movement because I just thought it just looks really interesting. So then I saw that video in the first slide, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do, After I saw the video, I was like, yeah, definitely.
Would you be able to change the pattern?
Yeah, so if I adjust the ball, so can you go back to the slide with the formula, please? Okay, yeah, so the formula, the most important variable in this is the length of the string. So, I guess they're all equally important, but the length of the string is really how you can change the different, patterns. So each one of the balls has, their different formula. So, if I were to put them all even, then they'd all go at the same time, And then I could, it'd be hard, but I could put them at different lengths, and I could see what the difference
So that means different than the last one.
Yeah, it would just be, completely different, yeah.
Did you end up restringing the last one?
Yeah, it broke. Yeah, the last one's broken twice now.
So they were all strung together?
Yeah. And I decided to use one string, I could have started from the middle and gone outwards, but I thought it would be better to do it that way because it'd be less complicated when I was trying to even them all out. Because then I just start here and go up, and then I can do that as many times for perfection.
Does it have to be on one string, or could it have been?
It could have been more, yeah. I could have done one or two,
So I've seen versions where the balls are all horizontal as opposed to diagonal, and then the attachment goes diagonally. So you still have the periodic differentiation.
Yeah.
But all the balls are starting at a level. With that, I imagine that had the same effect because the periods only based on the length of the string, and the strings are still the same length. It's just a matter of the whole apparatus. Or would that make a difference?
That's based on more release time, rather than the actual lengths of the string and stuff like that. But I think it would look the same, yeah. Well, yeah. Except that you have the visual part where you can see all the balls in a different part. Yeah, the balls would look the same level.
You mentioned that your dad had a little bit different idea. Can
Yeah.
you tell us how that process worked,
well,
communication, and how you won the debate?
Yeah, so making the physical part, you know, like in the beginning I had like, oh yeah, I want to do this at this specific measurement, you know? And so then he was like, no, you should do it at this measurement, you know? Like, he was just not very cooperative, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very impressive, Sam.
All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Jeff.